As you see there on the screen, and everybody, I'm assuming everybody can see the screen that we've got up there. If you can't see the screen, let me know, and it might be something on your side that you didn't, aren't able to link in. But the three main attributes of success, and we've talked about this in how it relates to other fields. The three main attributes are attitude, behavior, and technique. And as you see there on the screen, the attitude is what you think, feel, or believe. So that's the think side of success, right? What's going on between your ears, how you're perceiving, which is your attitude, your outlook. And we very frequently preach or stress having that glass is half full outlook versus the glass is half empty. And I'm sure that each one of you guys have DSMs who have a less than stellar attitude, a less than stellar belief or feeling about many different things. And as I preach or teach very frequently is attitude determines your altitude. Your attitude determines your altitude. If your attitude is off, you're not going to necessarily climb nearly as high as you ought to be able to climb, because you just don't think, you don't feel, or you don't believe that either you frankly deserve it or that you can do it. So attitude is huge, and we're going to dive into that here shortly. The behavior side of success is what you're doing. So this is the think, do, say triangles. Behavior, what you do. And that behavior, and we'll do a deeper dive into behavior, but from a sales management standpoint, the attitude of what you think you're doing well, or what you think you're not doing well, or how you feel, or how you believe about your role, and the belief about the company, the belief about the markets that your DSMs are serving, the belief that you each hold about yourself, either mentally, spiritually, or physically, is going to have a big bearing on your kind of sales leadership role and how you're perceived by your DSMs. So you want to emulate the ideal belief system so that the DSMs that report to you can see that you're the type of person that they would follow into battle, because you have a belief in the company, in the market, in the products, in the customers, and everything you do. It is not a negative belief, but it's a positive glass half full mentality or outlook. And then the behavior, same thing on the behavior. The behaviors as a sales manager, the behaviors, everything that you should be doing, and that's the only thing, and I told this to the DSMs, the only thing that you have complete control over here is your behavior. And it's what you do. You can control what you do. And that is very, very vitally important. It is such a strong element of success in making sure that you're tracking your people's behavior, you're holding them accountable, that you know what their daily goals are, their short-term, their long-term goals are, but behavior is critically important. And then the technique is what and how you say the things that you have to, that's what's coming out of your mouth, what and how you do it. So the think, do, say triangles are kind of the building block of success. And as I say frequently, this is not just business success. This is success in any endeavor that you're pursuing. It's personal success. It's professional success. It's for your kids. I mean, this is a good lesson to teach young people, that these three things are going to determine what they get out of life and how happy and satisfied they become. And happiness and satisfaction is not about purely how much money they've socked away in the bank, not the size of someone's bank account. There are plenty enough unhappy unhappy millionaire, billionaire types that would give it all away for just, for one more minute of smile and joy and peace. But unfortunately, they wrap too much of it around the size and scope of their bank account. And here's the question that I have there. Why are they important in helping you be a great sales manager, or why are they important in helping the DSM? Let me throw this at Kevin. Kevin, if you can unmute yourself, if you muted yourself, why would these three elements of success be important in helping both you as a sales manager or DSM?
Well, I think one of the things that you talked about with the attitude determining our altitude, that's huge. I mean, when you're talking with some of these guys, I know they can really get some things in their mind, like I'm never going to be this with this customer, or I'm never going to be that with this customer. And I think, actually, I've had one of these discussions just this week with one of my guys that, we get into this process of wrapping our minds around what's happened in the past and where we don't think we can go. And we've got to get beyond that. I mean, I know that there are some customers that are very difficult to work with, the variety of reasons that come with that. But when we go in with a more positive attitude, that sets the tone for your conversations with them and sets the tone with how you're going to do business with them. And who wants to deal with somebody that has a bad attitude? Not me. And surely not our customers either. So I think this part of attitude, that is huge, not only for them, but I mean, I'm thinking about some of that stuff too when I deal with our guys, just making sure that I get myself in the right frame of mind before I even have a call with them. Or you get into a point where you might be thinking, I'm going to send this email out to correct something that's going on. I think a phone call is a whole heck of a lot better nowadays. And it kind of gives the correct tone. So that's huge. Obviously behavior too, what we do, I think that just falls in suit with our attitude. If we are positive about it, we're going to make better choices on what we do with our behavior. And just, well, I mean, the technique, that whole full circle, even though these are triangles showing the full circle of how these tie together, you're going to change your techniques and behavior when you see that you are successful with your attitude. So I think for me, again, it's just a matter of getting our head in the right place before we even start some of these conversations. And these guys, and including myself, I think we get bogged down with the day-to-day, and we've got to remember why we're here and what we're trying to accomplish.
Right. No, that's exactly it. That was a good way to explain it. And every one of those is vitally important. Both behavior, attitude, or all three, behavior, attitude, and technique, extremely important in success in any pursuit that you have. You need to make sure that your head's in the game, you're doing the right stuff, and the way you're doing it is correct. And that's the tactical or the technique side of it. And from a sales management standpoint, if your attitude, Kev, like you said, if your attitude is subpar, and it's just like if you've kind of given up, that it bleeds through. Just like you say, your DSMs, if they don't have the conviction and the purpose, and that customer is not feeling that belief or the conviction in that DSM or in New Mill, they're gonna sense it. Sales is such a slight edge game. It is such a slight edge game that you've got to make sure that everything is lined up. And if you have any self-doubt, or if they perceive any lack of conviction or any kind of self-doubt or lack of belief in themselves, or belief in the business, or belief in the ability to provide the service needed, they get a little antsy. They're going to walk away. So each one of those, and as I say often, if any one of these, behavior, attitude, or technique, if any one of those triangles or components of the triangle, if any one of those three are lacking, it's going to cause some problems. You could have great behavior, great techniques, but if your attitude's not there, you're going to know it. And if your attitude's there and your technique's there, but you're not doing the behavior you got to do constantly, it's going to be quickly seen. You're not filling the pipeline. You're not, if you don't set goals, you don't establish short-term and long-term goals. You don't have a plan and a strategy to hit those goals. You're just going to be going on just on a whim. So it's very vitally important. And go ahead.
Hey, I don't want to deviate too much far from the conversation, but I actually just recently had something similar with my son. He's been working really hard in the off season with his basketball techniques and the behaviors he's changed to make himself more successful. And one of the conversations we had this week was, he just feels like he's never, like he's not improving or he's not better. And I said, well, one of the things that we need to change is that attitude of yourself, which is critical, because I see his behaviors change. I've seen his techniques change, and I see his improvements. So I see the successes that he's having, but they're so, like, the successes are incrementally growing, and he sees himself every day. He doesn't see the full package of what's changed. And I said, this is critical that you start having a better attitude about yourself, because we can always be better. We can always do more, but he needs to celebrate those incremental successes that he's getting and doing. And it made me start thinking about our guys and what we deal with every day, because I think a lot of these guys have good techniques and good behaviors. Can they get better? Obviously, yes. And I think even with some of this training, I think the guys have picked up on small things. I won't say that and I'll just tell you, Jim, I don't think that they've bought in completely to everything that's going on, but I do see some of their things that they're doing has changed. But the attitude is a strong one. And if we can get them to be positive about even these incremental small changes they're making as part of their success, that's going to really drive them, I think, maybe to the next step.
Well, that's a great analogy with your son, and that's a prime example. He changed some of his techniques, whether it's ball handling or shooting and or passing, whatever it is. He's making some small incremental changes to his techniques. He's practicing. That's the behavior side of it.
Right, correct.
And he's doing the drills. He's doing the behavior, constantly trying to make it a muscle memory. And he has those two down pat. And you are seeing the results, the successes there, but the attitude at the top, if he doesn't believe in himself, it's going to make for a harder transition. As I've said to my kids multiple times, always be happy, but never be satisfied. And what I mean by that is don't ever think you've arrived, like, oh no, I'm perfect at such and such. Always be happy with what you're doing, but never think that you've arrived and you can't get a little bit better. Never be satisfied and take your foot off the gas. Always think, you know what, I should do more, I can do more, and I will do better than I did right now. So be happy with what you have, but don't be satisfied. It's like with your successes, Kevin, and with your team's successes, be happy with those successes, but not satisfied that now they've arrived. It's like there's always have this abundance mentality. And I think the right attitude is the attitude of an abundance mentality. There are so many people out there for us to help and to call on and to do business with, and that need to buy from New Millennium. The attitude is I'll never get them all, but I'm going to do everything in my power behaviorally to make sure that I reach out to the people that need to know that we exist. And so it really is, as you say, it's like it's a circle. It's a complete circle. All three of those things go kind of hand in glove. Well, let's talk about that particular point, which is the attitude side of the triangle. And this is key. And Kevin, I think Kevin had the great explanation and analogy with his son. You know, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your attitude is going to determine your level of belief and conviction in what you're saying when you're in front of a customer, or whether or not you do the things that you've been practicing over and over again. And from an attitudinal standpoint, there's three main areas under attitude. What's your attitude about yourself? What's your attitude about your organization, New Millennium? And what's your attitude about the market that we're serving? And if any one of those 3 points on the attitude triangle are less than a 10, then we have to strengthen it. If the attitude, if one of the DSMs, or if one of your guys' attitude about New Millennium is not where it should be, it's going to drag you down. If your attitude about the marketplace that you guys are serving is not a strong belief and a strong conviction, it's going to keep you from saying and doing the things you have to say and do. And then the important one at the top there is your attitude about yourself. You know, and that is broken down into those 3 sub-attitudinal things. What's your attitude about your physical, your physical makeup, your body? What's the attitude about your spiritual makeup? Internally, your spirit. What's your belief about you spiritually, and what's your belief about your mental state? Are you feeding your mind with good, solid? And that's the attitude. Is you know what? I've got to just be a continual sponge to learn, and you should be constantly feeding your mind. Spirit, you should be constantly feeding your spirit. Thinking that you can do it all on your own. No, and you know what? The spiritual makeup of a person is very vitally important to how they see themselves, how they see others, and how they see their purpose in life. Spiritually, very important. And and physically, there again, you look in the mirror, you look at yourself and say, you know what? I'm not happy with what I've become. I'm out of shape. I'm soft. I'm flabby, I'm this, I'm that. It starts to denigrate on your overall attitude. Because if you're not happy with yourself, other people are going to have a hard time being happy with you. You should not that you should be, let's say, arrogant or what's the word I'm looking for? Vain. I'm not talking about being overly vain, but I do believe that from a physical, from mental and spiritual standpoint, strengthening each and every one of us, as well as our DSMs, it's our job, because we can help people to overcome some of those attitudinal deficits if we have them. And there is nobody that is perfect. And this is what I share with the DSMs. There's nobody that's 10 across the board in all areas of their success triangle. There's always deficits that we should be working on. That's why I told my kids, be happy but not satisfied. There's always room for getting a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. And you should all be constantly kind of in that growth category, constantly growing. And then, Kevin, to your point about that, it's a circle. This belief wheel, which is a self-fulfilling prophecy, this is the circle of attitude. And, our beliefs, which is generally how we act based on our beliefs, and they're on the right side, that belief wheel. Your beliefs give you certain judgments, right? You make certain judgments off your beliefs. You act according to those judgments, and then those actions are, in effect, going to give you certain results, and those results are going to 99 out of 100 times reinforce that initial belief that you had. So it becomes that self-fulfilling prophecy. You act according to your beliefs, your actions drive results, your results reinforce your beliefs, and it continues to go in a constant. And I guess the problem, if there's a problem, the problem is so many people have what we call self-limiting beliefs, or as we lovingly call it, head trash. Head trash, you could take that belief word out there and put in head trash. Head trash leads to judgments. You make a judgment based on some head trash or some stinking thinking you've got. You act according to that head trash, and as a result, you normally get trashy results, and then that, in fact, reinforces your kind of conscious or subconscious belief about what you were thinking to begin with. Now, it's our job, your guys' job as sales managers, to make sure that the beliefs that your DSMs have are good beliefs, they're positive beliefs, and they're not self-limiting. And I've got 3 examples here. If only my company, if only New Mill would do. And so when they're saying, you know what, I would be more successful if only New Mill would allow me to do such and such, or I would be more successful if only the competition would quit doing this, that, or the other, or our pricing. In other words, and if you guys recall when we did those assessments, that we looked at responsibility and how frequently or how likely somebody, one of the DSMs or any of the DSMs, might blame external forces or look externally at reasons and rationale as to why their results are what they are. And most of the, let's say, when I call them irresponsible, I don't mean that they don't do what they're told to do, but they tend to blame other people. And for sales managers, you guys, if you are accepting excuses, you're enabling some of this head trash to continue on. What I would suggest and direct you guys to do is don't accept excuses and ask the DSMs, well, look, if let's say failure was not an option, what would you do different, right? If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? And 9 times out of 10, they will tell you what they should have been doing, but their fear is, their belief is, if I would have done that, it would have screwed up on me. So changing your outlook means we've got to change our actions and actually do things differently than what our head trash is telling us we ought to do. And as I have on here, what we have to do is reframe the attitudes. In order to reframe attitudes, you've got to reframe your actions, because you can't wait till somebody changes their belief. It's like Kevin. If Kevin waits till his son believes in his ability, in his talents, it could be far too long before he gets the belief that he's as strong as Kevin knows he is. So what he has to do is act that way, and as a result, he'll start to see some results from his new actions that he's taken, and that will start to change his beliefs. You can't change beliefs like flicking on and off a light switch. It's not that easy. Beliefs are embedded in us, and in order to change that and change outlook, we've got to change actions. Actions drive beliefs, not the other way around. Questions from any one of you guys? Questions and or comments? All right, let me jump to the next page. Let's look at the next stage on our success, which is on the behavior side. That's the do side. So the think, the do, and the say. Behavior triangle, it's a result of the actions or reactions under specified circumstances. And behavior is broken down, just like attitude was broken down. We break behavior down into these 3 points themselves. The goals, the plans, and the action. And every behavior should be based. It should not be random, but it should be aligned with our goals, right? We're doing it because we have a goal, and the goal is at the very top of the behavior triangle. And as you see, as you see, I've got it up there. We've got daily goals, we've got short-term goals, and long-term goals. And short-term goals, I define short-term goals as monthly or quarterly. Long-term goals are in terms of annual type of goals. year-long goals, 5-year goals, 10-year goals. They're long-term. They're not something that we're going to see instantaneously, but I want to break those long-term goals down into the short-term and then into the daily goals. Now, to let you guys know, and I'm sure you guys could flip back and look at some of your DSMs and some of the assessment traits, but when any one of the DSMs showed a lacking of the ambition and drive competency, it had to do with primarily with no goals. They don't have any stated goals, whether they're personal or business goals. Now, we may say, well, we give them goals all the time. Yeah, I know it, but are they in writing? Are they very specific? Are they measurable? All the things that a goal should be. And as far as sales management, we should have, as sales managers, we should have our daily goals, our short-term goals, and our long-term goals. We're no different from the DSMs in that this stuff means something to us. We all have goals, and unless we have them in writing and with a must complete by date, then they're nothing more than wishes. The plan on the lower left side of behavior, the plan side of the behavior triangle is just that. It's how am I going to hit my goals? You've got to build your goal or build your plan, because a goal without a plan is just it's a hope and a wish. And so when you set your goals, you've got to figure out, all right, that's my goal. What's my plan in order to hit it? I need to build a plan. I need to be able to track it, which is another thing. You have to have something trackable to determine, am I moving the needle? And then have the willingness and the ability to fine tune it when needed. There's no goal that is set in stone that cannot be fine tuned. Every goal and every plan to achieve that goal should be tunable, because circumstances and situations are going to arise that are going to cause you to have to fine tune it, tweak it, not completely throw it out the window, but tweak it, fine tune it. And then on the lower right of behavior, it's action. It's the actions that have to be taken. And the action is how well you are performing on your plan to hit your goals. And that is made up of the three elements. Action it's the discipline, and that is the constant, consistent commitment to doing. It's just like with Kevin, with your son. Is he fairly disciplined in his drills and practice routines?
Absolutely. I've never seen this kid get so disciplined this year. He is like crazy every day. Like, it's almost obsessive, but a good thing, I guess.
Yeah. You know why? It's because, his behavior is in line. He's got goals. He's got a plan, and then he takes action. He takes the necessary action. He's disciplined at it, and taking the action is something that you have 100% complete control over doing. He's doing the discipline. He's doing the drills. He's doing the practicing. He has the vitality, which is another piece of action, is having the vitality and the guts to change your behavior when it needs to be changed in order to do that. So goals, plans, and action are critically important for both sales management and making sure that we are modeling the way for the DSMs. And if we don't have a behavior ourselves set in place with our own goals, with our plan of attack, and our action that we're going to be very disciplined and decisive in committing, and if we're not modeling the way, we're being less than fair to the rest of the team. It's like do as I say and as I do. Not just do as I say, but I don't do this stuff myself. It's your guys' job to model the way for the DSMs, and this is the behavior side of it. And speaking of the goal side, we've covered this, but I want to, and I did with the team, because with the DSM team, this is the one area, or one of the areas, that I saw where anybody that was lacking ambition and drive on their competencies very, very likely had a lack of goal orientation in their behavior track. And so when they have a very low goal orientation, what that meant was they don't have the drive and ambition and desire because they don't have a big enough why. They know what they need to do for New Millennium, and you guys tell them what they have to do. But if they don't have their own internal why, they're doing the things that they have to do day in and day out, it just becomes an exercise in futility. So what I said to these, to the DSMs is, we got to make sure we're goal-oriented, goal-focused. And as sales managers, this is something that I believe you guys are going to be very key and instrumental in modeling the way. And as I have on there, the SMART, I added the ER, the enjoyable and rewarding, but all goals have to be specific. You can't just say, I want to sell more. Well, be more specific. How much more do you want to sell? It's got to be measurable. Are we talking about tons? Are we talking about dollar amounts? What is it in the goal? What is it that's measurable that we're trying to either increase or decrease? And every goal, every single goal should be in a unit of measure so that we can just do that. We can measure it and see whether or not we're progressing or regressing and make the necessary changes and fine-tuning to our plan in order to hit our goals. It's got to be attainable, right? It can't be unrealistic. It's got to be, the goal has got to be attainable. It's got to be within reason. It shouldn't be just a lay down, easy to hit, but it's got to be attainable. It's got to be relevant, right? It's got to be, it's got to be relevant to them. And the time bound, you have to have an end date. You should have daily goals, which by the end of the day, the end of the month, or the end of the quarter, or the end of the year, the end of the 5 years, there should be there, because if it's not time bound, it's very, very easy to procrastinate on any one of our goals. It should be enjoyable to reach that goal, and it should be rewarding for us when we hit it. Oh, it's like somebody's alarm went off. Action planning. This is, again, we're still into the behavior side. The planning and the action. There again, build the plan, track the plan, and that's very, very important for you guys to make sure that you are. Now, when I say building a plan for your DSMs, have them put their own fingerprints and thumbprints. You can help them kind of co-create their plan, but I want them to be actively involved with the planning of their goals. So they have to build it, but it's got to be trackable so you can hold them accountable to staying on task and on their plan. So it needs to be trackable, and then again, fine-tuning it in the event that you have to make some changes to it. It is changeable. Then the actions, again, it's all about discipline, vitality, and guts. And that's getting out of our comfort zone, doing what is going to be uncomfortable. And the stuff that's uncomfortable for us is not going to be easy, but it's going to make us stronger, and it's going to make us better. Get uncomfortable, have the vitality to do it, and have the guts to potentially to fail. Take the necessary action. You change action, you're going to change results. You change results, you're going to change attitude. Now, let's talk about the last section on the success triangle, which is the technique side of the triangle, and that's the say side of it. That's what's coming out of our mouths, or that's our, as you can see in the technique side of the triangle, we break that down into 3 and then additional subcategories. But the 3 in technique are their personal presence, the DSM's personal presence, it's their tactics that they're using, and it's the strategy, their sales strategy. And each and every one of those in and of itself is a strong tactical component, or good technique, sales technique. And we're constantly, and as far as I'm concerned, with New Millennium, mine is my, Sandler material is more of the technique side of the sales engagement. The attitudinal stuff is stuff internally, it's what's between their ears. The behavior side is the sales management's role. The technique side is the stuff to help them get better. Both their, on the very top there, their personal presence. Do they have the right character, the right amount of energy, and the right communication? Are they able to communicate their thoughts and their vision of the perfect solution for the customer? So their own personal presence, is it correct? Is it a 10? Do they exude confidence? Do they exude credibility? Do they have the, if the person doesn't have the energy, and nobody wants to be around like, a sloth. Not that any of the DSMs are sloth-like, but you know what I mean. It's like you feed off of that energy. So do they have the energy? Are they getting the right, exuding the right confidence? Is their character, is it a good sound character? Are they a good, moral, upright individual? Is their character sound and in sync with the new millennium character and how you want them to kind of present themselves, and their personal presence is a good representation, and how they communicate? Is it a good communication style, or does it need work? Their tactics, and these are some, some standard tactics. The reversing, answering questions with questions. And I know Jeff Peters is, and I've heard, now when I say I know it, I've heard from some of the DSMs, some other people saying, oh, that Jeff Peters, he's very, very good. He's very inquisitive. He's always looking to, use not my ABC, but he's always utilizing that ABC type of attitude, which is always being curious. He's a very inquisitive, curious guy. He's always trying to get 1, 2, 3 levels deeper than anybody else. So he knows more about the project than anybody else. So that's part of that reversing, is answering questions with questions. The dummy curve is that Columbo tactic, is kind of being, like smart by being not so, not so intelligent that you can't be told anything, but always being confused in a good way. Negative reversing is just being counterintuitive, the tactic of being counterintuitive. And then the strategy, which is qualify, close, and present. That's Sandler's strategy. You want to qualify the opportunity and or disqualify the opportunity. Do they have pain? Do they have the budgetary means or the commitment to spend the necessary investment to fix the problem? And are they is their decision process in line? And if they qualify, then you would in fact close them for making a decision. And your close part of it is validating the pain, budget, and decision steps, having an upfront contract, and then the ultimate contract is a yes, no, after we submit our proposal. And then the proposal is presenting a solution, the upfront contract for presenting a solution, and then post-selling the project, post-selling it, which is everything that comes after it. Now, as far as techniques go, that's what's coming out of your mouths. But from a sales management standpoint, your personal presence, your tactics, and your strategy, while it may not necessarily be with the DSMs, your sales strategy, you guys still have to consider how you're tactically engaged with your behavior, trying to alter and change and kind of improve your team's attitudes. Now, the Kevin, you take the guys, you know, out there in your place. Seamus, you take your guys. Michael takes his guys. Everybody takes your guys, and I want you to score them individually on a scale of 1 to 10 on each leg of the triangle. All right. So score your own DSMs, and for you guys to determine where they can get, where they are today, and then take a look and see where do they need the most help, and whether that help comes from me, from you, from wherever. It's got to come, because nobody has arrived yet. Nobody has arrived at perfection, and everybody could use it. What I had done, and I'm going to do it for you guys yet, is I am going to send to you guys a blank with these success triangles on it, and with a line that allows you to score on that scale 1 to 10. I want you to make, you know, you could copy off as many as you want, because I'm going to send you an electronic version of this with an indication of how you would score yourself, or score all of your DSMs, not corporately score them as a group, but score them individually, how you would score them individually. And then when I receive the rest of the DSMs individually scoring themselves, what I'd like to do is I'd like to share their scoring of where they need help with you guys, so that you guys can kind of see where they see themselves needing some help in furthering their success, whether in their attitudinal changes that need to be made, behavioral changes, or tactical changes that need to be made. But at least it gets you and your DSMs on the same platform, talking about some of the same attributes, whether it is what they're thinking, what they're doing, or what they're saying. So I'm going to send that to each one of you as soon as we get off the line here. And then, what's today, Friday? Let me give you guys till next Wednesday, till Wednesday of next week. If you guys can pull it off, jot down each one of the DSMs that report to you, jot down their success quotient. I call it their batting average, BAT, behavior, attitude, technique, BAT, their batting average. So you fill it out, you'd fill it out 1 to 10, you compile the numbers. So if let's say their attitude score is an 8, their behavior score is a 7, and their technique score is a 9, that would be their success ratio. Then would be an 8 overall. You take all 3 of those numbers, you add them up, divide them by 3, but you would do that for each one of these sub triangles to be able to get that particular triangle's score. So score each one of the elements, add those 3 numbers up, divide by 3, and then give that triangle that particular score, and then compile them all together, and it gives you an overall success quotient for that particular DSM. It's a very, very good, meaningful discussion for you guys to have with the team. On that note, guys, and I know that you guys have that next meeting coming up, so I'm going to give you guys some time to unwind, check emails, make any phone calls, so you can be on time for your 4 p.m. Sales management call. Any questions before I let you go? Any questions from any of you guys?
None from me, Jim. I thought that was pretty informative, though.
Okay.
I'm good here.
Thanks, Doug. All right. Well, if any of you guys have questions, as you guys have known all along, I'm a phone call away or an email away. Feel free to reach out.
Jim, I do have one question.
Okay, sure. Go, Doug.
And it's real quick. There was a webinar that we were on with John Rousseau about, oh Christ, it must have been 6 months ago now, where we were talking about the pain funnel. And in that conversation, one of the guys chatted in that said, what if we were the cause of the pain? And you know, it got a kind of a chuckle, but it was for me, it was a real life reality with what I'm going through in some aspects of our business. And John had said that they were going to address that, how you handle that, and kind of change your customers' views of the pain that you've caused them. Are you kind of familiar with that, or do you have any commentary on that, or is there?
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, the short answer is yes. I am familiar with that, and yes, I have a commentary on it. However, based on time, I'm going to circle back around either with you, or we've captured some of that stuff, Doug, and that's. I mean, when it's unfortunate that this is something that. And that was not a New Mill individual that brought it up, or was it, that said, what if...
No, it was actually me. And
you.
we had a chuckle about it, but I was actually...
Well, I was going to say, that's not exclusive to New Mill. When we are the cause of the pain, because we talk about in Sandler about, you know, we're the pain relievers, not the pain creators. And we've got to find out what are the challenges, what's the problems that somebody has and that we can rectify, right? We're the steel doctors, and what seems to be your ailment. And we need to go into the pain funnel to find that out. And so your comment to John had been, what if we are the source of pain? And you know, if we bring that up and they say, well, hey, you sons of guns are the ones that caused this problem. It's like, you know, what do I do then? So yeah, I'm aware of it, and it's not exclusive to New Mill, but I've got some material on that. I'll send it to you, Doug, or the rest of the team here, so that you guys can kind of chew on that and digest it and see how you guys can fit it in. But it's a great point and topic, one that we could go into a much longer diatribe discussing. So.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I'm not putting you off, but I am going to.
Oh no, I understand.
Need to do that for them. Okay. All right, guys.
Yeah.
On that, I'm going to wrap it so you guys can make your 4 p.m. call. Thanks, you guys, for attending. I have recorded this, so I'll send this thing off to you as well.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, guys. Thanks.
You too.
You bet.
Okay.
See you guys.
Thanks, Jim. Take care.